Welcome to the Tablet Advertising Professionals podcast. Today we're going to be going over tablets as mobile devices versus smartphones as mobile devices and that market. So first of all, device uses. What's the difference in how consumers use the iPad or other tablets versus how they use their smartphones? And then we're going to look at web browsing specifically, the activity, the amount of time spent, all of those things, and then the ad spend. So which way are the advertising dollars moving right now? Are they moving more into smartphone? Are they moving more into tablet? And is that mobile spend or are they separated? So smartphone versus tablets. This is something interesting. So in going through the settings on an iPhone and an iPad, you'll notice a couple things. First of all, the auto lock. If you notice, the iPhone has the options between 1 to 5 minutes for auto lock, and the iPad has the options between 2 to 15 minutes. And these are just sort of the Apple standards. What does that say about how consumers use those devices? It shows that iPhones are used for very short, quick, tasks. And so the auto lock is a much shorter time, and iPads are much more of a sort of passive, sit on the couch, watch TV, browse the web. So they have 2 to 15 minute auto locks. So Apple spends millions of dollars and countless hours examining how their audience uses these devices in order to improve them. And if they set those standards in there, it's pretty easy to see which way the devices are used. So what are smartphones used for? So the top four smartphone uses are for accessing local information, for searching for information, finding local services, and reading entertainment. So these are very time sensitive. I'm heading to the store, I need to find directions, or I'm in the store and I want to price check something. Those are what you use your smartphone for. Very time sensitive research. If we take a look at tablets, they're reading news, searching for information, watching videos, doing research, the type of things that take more time, that you can kind of relax, that aren't as time sensitive. So again, that kind of goes back to our other point. It's less localized than a smartphone, but people spend more time consuming information on them. So let's take a look at shopping activities. So here we have reviewing an item, purchasing an item, researching the item, checking the price, and finding the store. And this goes back to our theory. If you'll notice, tablet is much higher on reviewing items and purchasing items because it's just easier to punch in your credit card and see it all there than it is on a smartphone and a smaller screen, as well as researching the items. Tablets also a higher percentage. Now if you look at for checking price in the store and finding the store, smartphone wins both of those, especially finding a store in a landslide, because it's a time sensitive thing. You don't pull out your tablet while you're driving your car and ask Siri for directions. You have your smartphone with you. It's with you always. Your tablet's not always with you. Also in the store, people don't go around, well, I guess some might, but people as a rule don't go around with their tablets and do price scans and comparison shopping, whereas that's becoming more and more popular on the smartphone. So let's take a look at the mobile web browsing. Tablets are the king for web traffic. So VentureBeat came out with this article, actually, I think it was today, and it says Apple's iPad makes up 54.5% of mobile web traffic compared to just 19.05% of web traffic coming from the iPhone and 26.45% coming from other devices. So there is a ton of iPad traffic. And I know that the iPad's actually just about to drop below 50% market share in tablets, but you'll notice that just because you have a lot of cheap tablets out there and there might be more Android devices, that doesn't mean that the activity is higher on Android. It's actually the opposite. iPad has a much higher activity rate and people use their devices much more. And again, when looking at advertising dollars being spent, are you going to spend it on mobile, where people are spending 19% of their time surfing the web, or are you going to spend it on tablet, where they spend more time and they're more likely to go through a purchasing flow, they're more likely to buy on the tablet? Again, it just makes a lot more sense. And when we talk about tablets are the king of web traffic, iPad's the king of kings. So the iPad is 98.1% of web traffic usage, which is insane, especially when they only have 50% market share. Again, going back to that, it's not about how many devices, it's about the activity on those devices. So finally, let's take a look at the ad spend. Okay, so here's a few charts. This was Business Insider released this recently, talking about the trends of ad spend over the next 4 years. And what it's showing and what we're already seeing is that tablets and e-readers spend is going up significantly and mobile phone spend is going down for a lot of the reasons we've mentioned earlier in this podcast. If we take a little bit closer look, we'll notice that media tablets and e-readers are going to be up 65.6%, and mobile phones are going to be up 35.8%, and then other mobile devices are 58.8%. So everything's going to see growth over the next few years, but you're really going to see the most growth with media tablets and e-readers. So now app versus browser. Personally, I'm a pretty big fan of in-app in-browser advertising. I like the idea of not being siloed and trapped. I also like the idea of being able to develop for HTML5 and it working on all devices without having to develop separate apps and separate advertising platforms for each of those devices. However, these two charts show that the mobile internet advertising by user interface, that browser-based advertising is actually going to be a smaller percentage over the next 6 years than app-based advertising. I think there's going to be a lot of factors that are going to come into play here. For example, is Apple going to let up on what they charge publishers to be able to be part of their platform? Are they going to charge less? Or are more publishers going to start to move to HTML5 and bypass the App Store and just allow people to go through the mobile web version? And if that happens, then these numbers are going to flip. So I think that there's a lot of speculation. But either way, you're seeing a huge amount of advertising interest in both in-app and browser-based advertising. Also for 2016, let's take a look here. It's showing 51.3% for app-based advertising and 42.4% for browser-based. So even this chart here, they're very, very, very close. So next week, we're going to take a look at the new tablets being released on the market, including Nexus 7, Surface. How have the reviews been? The iPad mini is out now. We have sort of a personal experience review of that. Also, tablet magazines and tablet newspapers. So how have they been repositioned for the tablet? What's happening? Are they app? Are they web-based? Who's been trying the web-based versions and what kind of success are they seeing? So that's all for next week. So until then, make sure to connect to us on our LinkedIn Tablet Advertising Professionals group. There's also Twitter and Facebook for all the latest news from Adjent Digital. And visit tabletadvertisingpros.com where you can sign up for the newsletter or review any previous podcasts. So until next time, have an excellent weekend, and we'll